What's up, everyone? Nameco and Dustin here, Fantasy Smack Talk. Let's just get right into it. Tip of the day, Dustin. Hook 'em up.
The day, tip of the week.
Tip of the week.
Tip of the week, heading into week 8. Decent amount of buys we've gotten through, which means your bench is no longer as important as far as guys that are going to maybe find your starting lineups or getting through bye weeks. So take a long look at your bench this week. And anybody that hardly has any chance of making your lineup, like if you're in somewhat of a shallow league, and you have a receiver who's decent, maybe even like an Eric Decker in a more shallow league, and he's your wide receiver 5 with the receivers that you have.
Never making the lineup.
He's not going to make your lineup. Those are the kind of guys that I think it's okay to drop and maybe handcuff one of your stud running backs. Maybe go ahead and start doing the 2 defense strategy, which I'm a big fan of. Either just carrying 2 really good defenses and just picking which one you want every week, or just staying ahead of the game every week. So this week you have your week 8 defense, and then you pick up your week 9 defense, and then week 9 you have your week 9, and then you pick up your week 10, and just keep doing that. It's all about making sure your starting lineup is optimized. Like I said, for the most part, we're through the biggest part of the buys.
Yeah, and it's not 100% done yet, so maybe you actually start the 2 defensive strategy in a week or so. But know what your team is, know where your buys are. Your buys might be done. So keep that in mind also. All right, Dustin, go ahead and ask me a question.
Farm questions, tight end question. This one's lots of low-end tight ends here from Ghetto Football. We got Gavin Escobar going against Washington, coming off a big game. Jared Cook at Kansas City. Niles Paul at Dallas. Scott Chandler at the Jets. Who are you going with?
I actually kind of like Casey's defense at home this week as a defensive pickup and play. But I'm going to go with Cook either way. I mean, these other guys, Paul, Reed's there, he's out. Chandler, whatever, he's touchdown dependent, never happy with him. And Escobar, I don't see that happening again. That was a little fluky in my opinion. So I think the most targets goes to Cook. I love targets. Cook is your answer. All right, Belichick's hoodie, number 1, wants to know which wide receiver should he be starting. Louis Murphy versus the Minnesota Vikings, or Percy Harvin against the Bills. And this is Percy Harvin on the Jets, by the way. You might not have heard. Trade action.
I think most people heard about that one. I knew Louis Murphy was doing pretty well. But when I looked at his game log, it was even better than I remembered. I mean, this guy's had a pretty good year. And I wanted to talk about this one just so we could talk about Percy Harvin and just how much faith do you put him in this week. He's not going to get that many targets because I don't think he's going to know the playbook well enough. He's not going to spend enough time on the field. He scares me. He's going to be boom or bust. I think Murphy's...
Did I not send you my bust before the show? And then you put this in just to talk about it?
I picked these last night.
This is what I get out of him.
I picked them last night. You sent your picks a couple hours ago. JJ Sports Buzz, which running back? This one's a little interesting. Ronnie Hillman versus San Diego. Mark Ingram versus Green Bay. Who you going with?
So bitter. I'm gonna go with Ronnie Hillman on Thursday night. I know Ingram's actually a little bit intriguing. PT's gonna be out a couple weeks. Robinson, we're not really sure. Is he 100% gonna play? He's a little banged up. But Cadet was there, got a bunch of catches, and it is the Saints, so they do rotate it in quite a bit. I actually do like Hillman though. He's been running well. And Dustin alluded to it on his waiver wire show. I think Hillman might run with this job going forward. They just seem to have this poor ball. They just have a little bit more pop, and I think it's going to be a high-scoring affair on Thursday. I'm going to say Ronnie Hillman.
All right, let's get into those dud sleepers and deep sleepers. We'll start with mine. And one of the most disappointing players so far this year, and that's Matt Ryan. Going up against Detroit. Detroit has been very tough against the pass. And I do think Matt Ryan will have a decent game, but... if you go out in the wire and you see someone that might be a better matchup, I think this is a decent week to potentially bench Ryan, even though he is playing from home.
Well, it's not really home. He's playing in London.
That is
so I was just about to say, the home-road split for Matty Ice that you always use as a tiebreaker, that ain't a tiebreaker no more. They're out in London, so...
I hate the London games. That always throws me for a loop. But no, you are correct. Thank you for saving me so we don't get a ton of comments, even though we probably still will. Anyway,
we love you!
My sleeper is Philly's defense.
He loves Philly's defense.
I love Philly's defense. It's not the best matchup on paper when you look. Arizona, they don't give up that many points to opposing defenses, but Philly, I think they're the defense this year. I think they're the KC of this year. They just find a way to score points. And my deep sleeper is Trey Mason. I wanted to put him on here because the latest reports are going to give people a lot of lack of confidence in putting Trey Mason in your lineup. He is their best running back. Like, it looks way better.
It's night
I mean,
and day.
it's night and day. I mean, he's so much more explosive than everyone else. I am not that worried about the latest report. You're still not starting him over any of your studs, but he's still a very solid flex play.
I do have him significantly ranked over Cunningham. Or Stacy might get 25 touches this week. No chance Stacy's getting 25 touches. Jeff
I hate
Fisher.
those reports.
What a liar. He's a liar. All right. My bust is going to be Percy Harvin. And to put it more eloquently than my counterpart over here, here is why. Dustin is correct. He will not know the playbook nearly as well. Therefore, he'll have a couple gadget plays, a couple design for him. So he is a big boomer bust play. That's a little bit scary to me. I think he only plays on 30% of the snaps, maybe less than that. So, unless he breaks off a long run, he ain't going to be worth playing. So just tread caution. Don't think he's going to be a steal now because he's on the Jets. My sleeper, which is weird to say, is going to be Jimmy Graham. Here's why. You all hate Adam Schefter. I know you do. Adam Schefter came on, red zone packages, going to play a decent amount, and he still played, I think they said about 30 snaps, which isn't bad. Coming into the Sunday night game against Green Bay, he's probably at worst going to play that many snaps. I think he actually plays a little bit more, and that over-under is 54, so Vegas thinks there's going to be a lot of points scored. I like Jimmy in the red zone. He is a sleeper. I don't have him as a must-start tight end at like number 1, 2, or 3, but I do have him ranked this week where it wasn't last week, even with the Schefter news. And my deep sleeper is going to be Dixon against the Jets. You know, everyone picked up Bryce Brown. And Bryce Brown had that big run on the Eagles. I think, was that last year? I think last year, maybe 2 years ago. So everyone kind of remembers those like 3 games he had that were really solid. He hasn't been on the active roster all year. Dixon has. So due to that, temper your expectations. Dixon was also spotted running with the first team. In fact, as early as today. While Brown was on the 2s, but that's maybe partly again because of his active roster thing. Just if you're in a Hail Mary situation and you are in a 14, 16 team league, getting Dixon is not a terrible play. It's worth a gamble. A little roll of the dice.
Last we'd run one more report about, Buffalo's going to go with running back by committee. Yeah. Tell me something I don't know. I hate those reports. Mike's picks, his dud, Zach Stacy. We already talked about it a little bit as far as that running back situation. Stacy just looks slow out there, you know.
You know who he is? He's Sean Green.
He's Sean Green?
He is Sean Green. He'll
He'll
be in the league for a couple years, kind of a fun running back.
I can see that. Mike's saying, don't necessarily drop him at this point, but he's not finding your lineup. His sleeper's Mark Ingram. He's going to get a couple more touches probably with Thomas out, and let's not forget how Ingram started the year. Got off to a hot start. Hopefully he can pick up where he left off back then. And his deep sleeper's Teddy Bridgewater going up against Tampa Bay. Bridgewater's shown flashes, and he's shown that he can run the ball. And obviously, if you get a quarterback that throws in 40 to 75 rushing yards, you don't need to pass much to have a productive day. So Teddy's not a bad deep sleeper for this week. Name's over here, Dustin right here. You got any questions, post them in the forums.
I didn't get any bullets in my fantasy basketball draft.
I'm sure everyone's very sad.
I am. I'm very upset. Ross taking John Wall in the second. Blake, you should have taken Griffin. I'm happy I got him.
Then you missed Beal by 1 pick.
Miss Spielberg. And then Gortat went in the 5th. Gortat in the 5th.
That was stupid.
He's got a mohawk.
He has a mohawk?
He's got a mohawk.